The trade deadline has just passed, and the Boston Red Sox made 4 trades at the MLB trade deadline. The MLB pieces moved were Christian Vasquez and Jake Diekman. They brought in Tommy Pham, Reese McGuire, and Eric Hosmer. Now they did bring in some other pieces in the minor leagues. We'll get to them exactly when we get to those trades. But there's 4 trades deadline, so some movement. No big splashy moves from Hein Bloom in the front office, but they made some subtle moves. So Luke and I are going to grade the trades here, and then we will give an overall grade for the Red Sox trade deadline as a whole. My name is Derek, and I'm here with Luke. You're watching Bleacher Brawls, and let's get straight into it. We're going to go in chronological order here, so we're going to go from when the trades were first announced. So the first trade that happened was the Christian Vasquez trade. We've already done two videos on that trade on the Bleacher Brawls channel. So we're not going to cover it. I'm not going to go too in depth with it. We got our initial reaction, and then I did a prospect pipeline on the 2 prospects the Red Sox got in the deal. The deal was Christian Vasquez to the Houston Astros, and the Red Sox got Emmanuel Valdez and Wilyer Abreu. I'll go to Luke first. You can give your thoughts on the deal, and then what grade do you have it as?
Well, I have Vasquez as an aging catcher. So I know people around here really, really loved him. I wasn't, so he's had a great year offensively, but he's not. It's only a matter of time before a catcher his age just really starts to wear down. So I am happy that they're moving on in the catcher position. I think, like with the quarterback position in the NFL, it's better, like Belichick says, it's better to move on a little too soon than a little too late. So I'm glad they're moving on from the catcher position to get some new blood up there. I think the catcher of the future may not even be on the team yet. But I gotta love the prospects he got back. Emmanuel Valdez he's really the star. Emmanuel Valdez is the star of the trading deadline for the Red Sox for me. No doubt about it. With all his in Double A and Triple A this year, hitting 327, a slash line of 327, 410, and 609 with 21 dingers. And playing first base, second base, third base, left field, right field. He's not a great defensive player, but he's got a bat that has really good. I think he'll definitely get invited to spring training in 2023. I think he may play significant time with the Red Sox next season. And in the outfield, and the Red Sox had nothing in the outfield really in the system, including in the major league team. And Wilyer Abreu, the other guy they got for Vasquez from the Astros, he's another outfielder who is a high OBP guy, just like Valdez. 249 average in Double A this year, but 399 OBP, 15 home runs, and 23 stolen bases. So he's got some pop and some speed too. So another more outfield depth where you're getting some good plate discipline and some good power with Valdez and some good speed with Abreu. So I mean, it doesn't help the team in the immediate future, but because I feel like they should have sold even more than they did, I can give this trade an A because it hurts the now and just helps the future a lot. And I'm not about the now at all. So I give this one an A.
Yeah, I'm very high on Valdez. I know you are. Abreu I like as well, like him a lot also. Now, the interesting thing with this trade, yes, you do lose Christian Vasquez, but they did replace him in a trade we're going to talk about next. So we'll get into that in a second. But it's a move where, value wise, I think Hein Bloom knocked us out of the park. I think value wise. I think I would have been happy if the Red Sox would have just gotten one of these guys, value wise, but they got both of them, and we know the Red Sox asking price was high on Vasquez. So they did probably come down a little bit from the asking price because it was very high. But this package that they got, I'm very excited about. And Valdez hit a home run in his first game in AAA with the Worcester Red Sox.
Opposite field home run.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like a nice easy swing, oppo going oppo. I'm giving this an A minus though, just for the fact um that I like it value wise, and I like getting the two players. Losing Vasquez though is like okay, but I did say yesterday that if there's ever a position to punt on offensively for defense, it is catcher. So in that sense, I'll take the trade.
And
Consider.
Vasquez wasn't a bad defensive catcher.
Oh no.
You remember when he first came up, it was his arm. He might have had the best throwing arm from the catcher position in the major leagues at that point. Then he had arm surgery, and it wasn't. I think he might have had Tommy John
Yeah, it was
surgery
Tommy John.
actually, and so he just wasn't. And he's still been a good catcher throughout, but I just don't. I don't think he's going to be in the league for more than a couple more years. So might as well move on. At least search for the next answer at the catcher position long term.
Yeah. And also too, I feel like the Red Sox said, you know what, the value we're getting in this deal is too good to get to not accept this deal, even though we are giving up Vazquez, and even though they obviously from a team from the Red Sox on the front office and the team, they still want to make a push for the playoffs, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they were still willing to trade Vasquez because of the guys they're getting back, I think is a massive statement. Next up, though, we're going to move on to the second trade that happened, and it is the Jake Diekman deal. I mean, actually, I wouldn't even call it the Jake Diekman deal. I'd call it the Reese McGuire deal. The deal is Jake Diekman to actually, sorry, no, that wasn't even the second deal. Actually, second deal was the Tommy Pham deal. I totally forgot about that. Actually, so Tommy Pham to the Red Sox for a player to be named later or cash considerations. I'll take this one quick, easy. I think that this is a B plus just because um, Pham, I still don't know how he's going to fit in against righties, especially if everyone's healthy. Against lefties, I like his bat. Against righties, I'm a little cautious, but I get he's a big clubhouse guy. You're not really giving up anything to get him. I just wonder, would you have rather brought in a guy who doesn't really play left field? Not that Verdugo can't play right field, but would it have been maybe better served to bring in a guy who can play center or right in Fenway instead of a guy who's stuck to left field, and now you have to move Verdugo. Just because of that, it knocks it down to a B plus for me, but I still like the deal a lot. Obviously, I mean you can't complain.
I don't really like Verdugo in right field either. I don't like it. Him in right field in Fenway Park is kind of nauseating to me. He makes so many stupid mistakes, plays too much hero ball. But regardless, Tommy Pham, when you're grading a trade, you got to look at what you got versus what you gave up. And Tommy Pham is no star by any means. Apparently, Chaim Bloom loves his character. It probably thinks that he can be a good veteran presence in the locker room, and you got asshats like Jaron Duran in your locker room who might need a slap, like Jock Peterson needed a slap for not doing fantasy football the right way. Then that might be helpful, just getting a guy like that, and like what Robinson Chirinos is probably doing for the Orioles right now. Like just a veteran in there that can kind of show the younger kids, hey, this is how we act in the show. So I give that trade an A2 because it does serve a purpose, and the Red Sox had really no outfielders with Kike hurt, with Jackie Bradley Jr. barely even playable the way he hits, other than as a defensive replacement.
Ref Snyder going on the injured list.
Yeah, Ref Snyder getting hurt too. Tommy Pham, he'll walk. He's got some good plate discipline at least. And they needed an outfielder. They got him for what I say is nothing. Player to be named later. I mean, I don't see. It's very rare that a player to be named later is going to end up being a big asset. So it's just a why not deal. Bloom had some why not deals.
Well, it might not even be a player. It literally could just be cash considerations as well.
Right. In which case, it's less than
you're just giving money up for him.
Yeah, and he's not. And Pham, I think they're probably going to owe Pham like $2 million for the rest of the year. So that's a little steep for 2 months. A player that isn't going to bring all that much, isn't that dynamic. But what the heck?
Yeah, well,
It's not
yeah,
expensive.
it's not expensive, exactly. I actually think Pham might be here next year. I mean, 7.5 million option. I mean, that's not terrible. And if Heim does truly value this club is his value in the clubhouse, I mean, he might even be here next year. So that might not even be a move just for this year. It could also be a move for next year
I
as
think he'll
well.
be here next year, and that's a mutual option too, right? So
Yeah.
both the player and the team have to want to stay. So
Yes.
it's I think he'll be there. I mean, the way Bloom likes him, and this is going to be a young team next year that needs some veterans that'll don't mind, you know, sprinkling some baby powder on their head and giving somebody a slap across the face if they need it.
Yeah, I think too. Obviously Heim's spoken high things about it. Pham's spoken good things about the team since he's gotten here. He said that you know, he said all the right things in the media so far since came to Boston. Since he arrived in Houston. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Pham stays for 2023. But moving on to another guy who will be with the Red Sox in 2023, I would think who the Red Sox acquired. It's a Jake Diekman deal. Diekman going to the White Sox. The Red Sox acquire Reese McGuire and a player to be named later / cash considerations. Um, honestly, it's basically Diekman for Reese McGuire. We're not gonna really count the player to be named later or cash considerations because one, we don't know what it is. One and two, normally it's very minor. So Luke, have at it.
Jake Diekman was a problem here. He couldn't, Doug on the Bleacher Brawls crew called it from the beginning. You got a reliever, a guy that's coming in the late innings that walks a lot of people. It's just a recipe for disaster. And Diekman always has walked a lot of people. He's got a high strikeout rate, but he's got a high walk rate too. And that was getting him into trouble. He was walking too many people, and you walk a person, and then you give up a bloop, and then you give up a double, then that's 2 runs, and it's just not a good recipe in the late innings. So Diekman had to go. I'm glad Diekman's gone. Reese McGuire, I have no opinion on Reese McGuire, but give him a tryout as the backup catcher, and why not? But I give that one an A too, because it's you're getting Diekman off the team for and that's what you gave up. And you're not having to eat any of his contract either. It's you got Diekman off the team and you got something back. Plus, you're going to get a player to be named later or cash in addition to that too. So I don't even know how that works. That seems skewed to me. It seems like the Red Sox should be giving the White Sox some cash
They
or a
should
player to
be.
be named
They
later.
should be. They
Yeah,
should be.
to get rid of just to have Diekman, just to have them take Diekman off their hands and pay his contract. But the Red Sox get a backup catcher, a
Catcher
potential backup catcher, and a
who's
player to
under
be named
yeah
later, and maybe cash or maybe
yeah
cash.
yeah and McGuire's he's under control through 2025 I think or through 2024 or something like that. So it's not like he's just there here for this year either. So I saw when the Baseball Trade Values Twitter account put out the tweet and saying Diekman's basically -6 million in value and Reese McGuire's like negative is this like positive like 3.5 million, and they're like this trade is rejected by our model. I'm like, oh my lord. I'm like, I knew that was a fleecing, but she's Louise, that is a fleece.
Yeah, I don't know.
As Reese McGuire just hit a single actually, so the White Sox finally got a hit.
Yeah, I don't know how Bloom ends up getting these teams to just sweeten the pot so much, but he does a really good job getting value for his trades, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Mookie Betts trade aside, but there were
Well,
different
actually, the
objectives
Mookie Betts
in
trade
that.
actually is kind of good value because Price's contract was so underwater at the time. His value was like -55 million, and Mookie was 50 million.
We could
So it was
we
like
could do a whole
-5.
show on that trade.
Yeah. So it was like -5, then add the 40 whatever million. It ended up being about the values ended up actually being about equal the whole way through on the Mookie trade. I'm giving this trade though an A+ because you can't like getting rid of Diekman is a positive for the Red Sox. It's a positive. Adding Reese McGuire is a positive. Not having to eat any of Diekman's money is a positive. And let me remind you, Diekman is not under contract for just this year. 4 million in 2023 and 4 million in 2024, and I think that 2024 might have a buyout, like a 1 million buyout. they're out of all that money. They don't have to pay Diekman any of it. And then they also get in a guy who's under control for multiple years, a good, very good defensive catcher. Offensively, you're not going to get much from him. But like I said earlier, I've said it before. I haven't said it on here, but I've said it before, like to other people in person. I've said if there's ever a position to punt on offense and for defense, it is catcher. That's the one position to do it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what the White Sox saw in Diekman, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Last trade here. It might maybe the biggest deal the Red Sox had. Maybe I'm not sure. It was a deal where they sent Jay Groom to the San Diego Padres, and they got Max Ferguson, Corey Rosier or what, however it's said, I don't know. And
I
then
think it's
Eric
Rozier.
Rozier, something like that. I don't know. And then they also added Eric Hosmer with the caveat that the San Diego Padres are going to pay almost $44 million of his remaining salary. The Red Sox are paying about $260,000 this year, and then I think $750,000 for the next 3 years on the deal.
The minimum. They're paying the veteran minimum.
Literally. So I'll give it to you, Luke, first. What your thoughts on this deal?
I mean, it's another A. 4 trades, 4 A's when you're talking value according to what you gave as opposed to what you got. So, I mean, Jay Groom was at one point a high prospect in the Red Sox
to Clayton
system.
Kershaw.
Yeah, and he's kind of fallen from grace there. I mean, he's not. He's probably not officially a bust, but could amount to something. If so, good for the Padres there. But Eric Hosmer is a huge plus for the Red Sox because they got nothing at first base offensively or defensively all season long. And Hosmer, if nothing else, he's overpaid, but he's an overpaid veteran who plays very good defense at first base. And his offensive numbers are pretty much in line with what JD Martinez has done this year, which is not good for Martinez. It's not good for Hosmer either, because it's down from his peak years in Kansas City. He hasn't really done much at all in San Diego, but he's a steady major league first baseman that'll get a hit for you here and there. That'll knock one out of the park here and there. And you don't have to have Bobby Dahlbeck and Franchi Cordero and Jackie Bradley Jr. all in the same lineup anymore. So it's a big plus. And when you add in that they're paying Hosmer like a rookie, they're actually underpaying for the amount of production they're probably going to get for Hosmer, and the fact that the Padres are paying his whole salary. And the prospects that they got back for him kind of goes with what Chaim Bloom likes. You look at those Tampa Bay Rays team. What do? They, for the most part, they can get on base pretty well. They'll take walks, and they're athletes. And that's what we got here. All 4 prospects that Bloom got during this trade deadline are guys who are athletic, guys who can run and who can get on base. Corey Rosier, 33 stolen bases in 85 games. He's only playing in high A, but also 68 strikeouts and 54 walks. That's a very good strikeout to walk ratio right there. And he's another outfielder that has great speed, can cover a lot of ground. His slash line isn't great. Well, 263 average in a high A doesn't scream great things, but 381 on base percentage is pretty good. 6 home runs, 37 RBIs in 85 games is pretty good. And Max Ferguson is the other guy. Kind of like he was in A/high A this year, 91 games, 221 average, which is bad, 365 on base percentage, which is good. And it's great considering his average is only 221. But 55 stolen bases in 91 games. So he's not an outfielder. He's the only prospect that Bloom got this trade deadline that's not an outfielder. He plays second, short, and first base, but he's another guy with great speed. He's a great athlete. So
I think he's played some center field, actually.
Okay, I didn't see that. So I mean, look, the Red Sox, that was they're flush with infielders. All their production in the major leagues was from infielders this year. They're flush with infielders in the system. Nothing in the outfield. Nothing in the outfield beyond Verdugo on the big team, and really not much in the system beyond Ceddanne Rafaela moving forward. So, well, and David Hamilton, I guess, shortstop / center field now. But So bulking an area of need, which is outfield in the system, and getting more athletic. JD Martinez is going to be gone. Christian Vasquez is going to be gone. Getting the slower guys kind of out of the mix here.
Yeah. And it's also too, there's always like a trait that they don't with Heim, he always wants a trait from these guys. For Valdez, it's the hit tool. It's his batting. That's the trait that it's the hitting for him. For Abreu, it's the ability to draw a lot of walks and also some speed, but mostly ability to draw walks. Probably has a good eye for the plate considering he's got 78 walks in 89 games. Now he does strike out a lot, but you can always work on that.
And he's got some pop too, 15
Yeah,
home runs.
yeah. Ferguson, 55 stolen bases, great speed. And Rozier has good speed as well. So the speed, the athleticism, as well as being able to get on base is also kind of but more so speed, I think, is kind of that big standout trait there for the both of them. And then Hosmer, the fact that they got I would give this deal an A plus, even without the two prospects the Red Sox got. If the Red Sox just got Hosmer and the Padres paying 44 million of it, and and they just gave Jay Groom, I'd give it an A plus. Also, too, they would have needed to take someone off the 40-man roster for Eric Hosmer. So it seems Groom might have been number 40 on the 40-man roster as well. And he's in Double-A. Well, now in Triple-A, but just because they were running out of guys in Triple-A. So it was if he was number 40 on the 40-man, well, they might have had to have gotten rid of him anyways. They got something for him. They went out and got Eric Hosmer. So I'd say overall, plus he got two extra prospects in it. This is like an A plus plus. Like if that's even a thing. Like you can't it's an A plus without a doubt for me.
Yeah, especially considering the position where the Red Sox desperately needed a first baseman. So yeah, it's definitely a positive. How many of the four prospects they got on the trade deadline, how many do you see being contributors to the major league team at any point?
I definitely think Valdez and Abreu can be big league contributors. Ferguson, I'm a little unsure of. I don't know about Rozier or whatever his name is. If the over unders 2.5, I'd say the safe bet's under. But if you're feeling confident, I say you go over for 3. So I'm like
Wow.
in the middle. I'm in the middle of 2 and 3. I think both guys in the Astros trade will be contributors. I don't know about the guys in the Hosmer trade. Honestly, I'm not really sure. Um, we'll see. Well, I also too because I haven't seen much of them as well either. So it's kind of just going off the stats. So I'm not 100% sure at this point on the two from the
Okay.
Hosmer.
I think Valdez will definitely be a big league contributor and he'll be a pretty good player, and maybe Abreu too. I think there's a good chance the other two never sniff the big leagues, but it's all
But they're
about
minor league depth.
stockpiling assets, and they have something they can feature. So if a team feels like they need speed, they want fast guys, they want to develop, they could trade them off somewhere and get something back. It's not all about the players in your system aren't all going to come up and be major league contributors. Some of them are just money, just something you could give to somebody else to get something else back.
And also too, if one of those guys like the speed guys, if they just develop the hit tool a little bit, now you get the hit tool and now you get the speed tool. A lot of these guys are solid defensively. That's a big league contributor right there.
Yeah.
So if like for example, if Ferguson develops the hit tool, he will be an MLB player, but it is reliant on him developing that hit tool.
Yes.
Overall grades for the trade deadline. I'll go to you first, Luke.
So it's a little strange. I gave A's for every trade, but I can only give a B for the deadline. Bloom won all the trades, but he didn't meet what I thought should have been the primary objective, which was focus exclusively on the future. He brought some stability for the 2022 team, but I don't really think that mattered. I really don't see this team going anywhere long term. And I don't see them making the playoffs. Even if they did get hot and make the playoffs, I don't see them making any noise in the playoffs. I don't think they have the talent to do that. So I think he should have just gotten the best offer he got for Evaldi. And I think he should have just taken the best offer he got for JD Martinez and just cut all the losses for 2022 and move on going forward. I'm curious if ownership just got in his ear and just said, look, we're not selling off completely. Too many fans would be pissed off. Or if Bloom said, okay, we'll get a couple veterans for nothing and just see if that helps, makes it a little more versatile, makes the team a little more versatile, maybe stretches out the lineup a little bit, and just makes them fit a lot more. There was a lot of fitting pieces on this team before the deadline. I feel like now with Pham and Hosmer there, things seem to fit a little more, and there's a little more flexibility that you can use in the lineup.
Yeah, and both of them are locker room guys. And if Hosmer and not Hosmer, if Pham's mutual option gets accepted by both parties, they'll both be here in 2023 as well. All three big league, I mean, all three big league pieces applied would be here in 2023. So I think these are also. I said, buy for 2023 if you can. And if that helps to buy for this year, that's fine. And I thought they should kind of sell the expiring deals if they don't have long term plans for them. So I'm a little confused. I'm a little surprised they didn't trade JD, but maybe they just didn't feel like an offer was good enough to warrant trading JD.
But
Which
what
I
are you
get.
getting? But what are you getting by keeping him?
But the thing is, how much are you actually going to get for him on the market, especially with his struggles
I
recently?
mean,
That's
$8. If you get $8 for him, like you're only keeping him for 2022, so you might as well get something there because 2022 is not going to amount to anything. That's the
yeah.
way I
The
see it.
the well, yeah. I think with the Valdi, they're probably going to give him the qualifying offer. I'm thinking. So I can go. You know what? Okay, you'll get if he goes somewhere else in free agency. You're gonna get a draft pick, which actually might have been might be more valuable than the return you would get. If he accepts the qualifying offer, he's gonna be here in 2023, so that makes sense. JD was
Okay.
a little question mark. I'm giving it an A minus. Hosmer, big locker room guy, just like Pham. Also, too, Hosmer. Well, Tristan Cassis went to the same high school as Eric Hosmer. Hosmer's been a mentor for Tristan Cassis, and now that's going to continue now that Hosmer is in Boston. So, and it also allows Cassis to not be rushed, and now fans aren't going to clamor for him to be rushed. It allows Cassis to just take his time, which I think that's probably the biggest win of the deadline, actually. Now there's no rush for Cassis. Let him develop. Let him take his time until he's 110% ready for the big leagues, which might not be until next year now, but guess what? There's no problem with that. So I have to give it an A minus.
I think he's got to be on the major league team next on opening day, though. I
I
think
think you will.
he's had his time in there. I know he had an ankle injury this year, kind of set him back a little bit, but it's time to see what we got with Tristan Casas.
Yeah, I think that'll be next year, and I think he will be on the opening day roster next year. But there's no point to rush him for this year, especially with that having that ankle injury earlier in the year. But yeah, like I said, Hosmer is going to be a good mentor to him. And if JD does lead, well, one of Hosmer and Cassis can fill out the DH spot. Whoever's not playing first can play DH. So I guess there's your JD replacement. I guess maybe it was Hosmer, the future JD replacement, Eric Hosmer. They just got him a year early. Um,
Yeah, identical production this year,
yeah,
so it fits.
yeah, and Hosmer weirdly hits lefties better, which
And Hosmer won't hit third or
and he's
fourth.
getting paid the league minimum. So hey, there's that.
Yes,
And he can play the field, which JD can't do.
correct.
We don't want to just take a cap on JD, but like the guy will get back spasms running out the left field. Okay.
And he's
Um,
got 9 home runs.
yeah. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap this trade deadline recap up for the Red Sox. It was a fun deadline. Maybe not super fun for the Red Sox because all the trades happened before deadline day besides the Hosmer deal. Hoping for a little bit more, but it seemed like the asking prices for some of the relievers they wanted might have been a little high for them. But overall, I think we can both agree it was a good deadline for the Sox. They still think they can make the playoffs, and who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But they obviously believe they do, and they added some good pieces for the future as well as
And they
helping the
just
team this year.
won a series in Houston.
Exactly, and exactly.
The
Even if they
march to
lose,
the playoffs has begun.
yep, exactly. All you need to do is win series. You got 4 in Kansas City after this Houston series, so it's definitely doable. You just got to start beating the AL East, and that's going to be really the big test. That series in New York in like a week or two. That's going to be that big test. You're going to get to
Mhm.
go up against New York. They are struggling a little bit. That's the big test for this Red Sox team. That's wrapping this thing up. Check out all the links in the description. The Bleacher Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, plus all the cruise Twitters. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell while you're down there so you get notified every time we put up a video. For Luke and Derek, you've been watching Bleacher Brawls, and we'll see you next time.